The Heartily Initiated podcast recently did an interview with Princella, who's known as the Queenmaker, and Pastor Tim Ross, where they talked about the dynamics and the relationship between men and women. In that conversation, human design actually came up. Human design specifically in regards to finding your purpose and living in your purpose. So, in this video, that's what we're going to talk about. Hello, if you are new here, my name is Ebony. I am a human design and Gene Keys reader, expert, and coach. So, there are a few things in the interview that I absolutely agreed with. There were some things that I didn't necessarily agree with. If you're interested in watching the entire interview, I will link it in the description, but we are going to be focusing on the things that were said in regards to human design. So this all happened around the 3-hour and 18-minute mark. So if you want to go in and see that, that's where I would start. So Princella mentioned your purpose, how women specifically need to find and cultivate their purpose in order to understand and be able to step into their true self and their true value. She specifically said, and I quote, one of the biggest things that have taken people away from their true purpose is relationships. I absolutely agree with this. And the founder of the Gene Keys system, Richard Rudd, actually installed this into the system. So for those of you who are new to Gene Keys, there are 3 different sequences. There's the Genius sequence, the Venus sequence, and the Pearl sequence. The last step in the Genius sequence, which is when you're unlocking your 4 biggest gifts, the things that you give most freely and most easily and automatically really to the world. The last sphere in that sequence is your purpose sequence. Directly after the Genius sequence is the Venus sequence. The Venus sequence is when you're learning to open your heart, where you're healing trauma, where you are connecting with and healing your inner child. The purpose sphere is a part of both the Genius and Venus sequences, that pivot point between stepping into your purpose and unlocking your gifts and opening your heart to call in a relationship, right? To share your energy with another person. That pivot point is the purpose sphere. And it's in this system, it literally says the times when we veer away from or shy away from our purpose the most is when we get into a relationship, when we are sharing our energetic experience with another person. That's when we kind of fall off our purpose a little bit. And that's what I think Princella is saying. So she also mentioned that in order to become a whole version of yourself, you have to study yourself, not just your past. And I think that's so profound. That is absolute. I absolutely agree. And that's what these systems are here to do. You are literally studying who you are, your triggers, your reactions, your gifts, the things that you are meant to share with everyone else on this planet. That's what you're doing. So how can we do that, right? How can we use human design and Gene Keys in order to cultivate and step into our purpose, even when we are having an energetic experience with another person? Staying with Gene Keys for a little bit, right? Let's focus on one at a time. With Gene Keys, absolutely the Genius sequence. The Genius sequence is the first stop when you're beginning your journey with Gene Keys. And it's made up of your life's work, right? The inner work and the outer work that you're meant to do on this planet. And then you go into your evolution. That's what you're here to learn, right? Because we don't come here, knowing absolutely everything. There are things in our genetic makeup that we actually have to learn how to properly utilize if we're going to step into our true purpose, right? And then we have the radiance. Your radiance is where we get into the unconscious parts. Your radiance is what your body needs to be healthy. This is the energetic frequency that your body is pushing out, but also what it's calling in. It's calling in specific things in order for it to be healthy. And it helps for us to know what exactly those things are, right? And the last part that makes up our Genius sequence is our purpose. Our purpose in the confines of Gene Keys is the energetic state, the energetic frequency that we are here to hold, right? So we talked about life's work. That's the first part. The life's work and the purpose are very much connected. The state that you are meant to hold while you're doing your life's work is your purpose, right? And we mentioned how the purpose then leads into the Venus sequence. But if we're just talking about purpose, why we're here, what we're meant to do, how we're meant to move and operate, that is genius sequence entirely. Make sure I'm covering the mic. So if we're looking for purpose, if we're looking for what is this thing that I'm here to do, what is it that I need to understand, what do I need to heal, so I can step into the person that I am meant to be in the most optimal way possible, we want to start with the genius sequence. Okay? Now, moving on to human design. Princella specifically mentioned human design. She didn't mention gene keys. She mentioned human design and astrology, which, as we know, astrology is one of the systems that encompasses human design. So it's pretty much like a 2-for-1. So when we're talking about finding our purpose in the human design system, we start with the incarnation cross. The incarnation cross in human design is the genius sequence in gene keys. They're the same, mostly. They're the same, right? Gene keys has a different way of explaining it. It has a different way of going about it, but they are made up of many of the same components. Your conscious sun, your conscious earth, and your unconscious sun and your unconscious earth. Where human design takes it just a few steps further is that it incorporates the quarters, right? So there are 4 quarters. There's the quarter of initiation, there's the quarter of civilization, there's the quarter of duality, and there's the quarter of mutation. Each of these 64 gates in the human design system fall into one of these quarters. And the quarter tells us, how is this specific gift going to manifest? How am I meant to use this specific gift for myself and also for the whole of humanity, right? Another part that human design takes into account that gene keys doesn't is your karma, right? So if you have a karma that's a 3-5, right, or a 2-4, then you have a personal karma. That means you're meant to use your gifts in order to focus on your personal development. And when you do that, it'll automatically kind of bleed over to help the collective. If you have a transpersonal karma, meaning you're a 6-2 or a 5-1 or a 5-1, right? That means that you are meant to use your gifts to help the collective, which in turn will help your personal growth. So now it's about focus. When I'm using these gifts, when I'm stepping into my conscious sun, when I'm stepping into my purpose, my unconscious earth, where do I place my focus? And this is a reason why I think human design and gene keys work so well together, is because they are complementary. Where gene keys thrives is that it's archetypal, right? It gives us a beautiful overview. It gives us all of the information we need to understand about how our energy works and how it's going to manifest. What human design does in a fantastic way is it breaks it down. It gives us day-to-day actions, day-to-day ways of making decisions that will keep us in alignment with the archetypes that we have already discovered that live within us. So, if you are interested in tapping into your purpose and stepping into that truest and highest version of yourself, and you want to use human design and or gene keys to do it, I would start with your genius sequence, and I would also start on doing a very deep dive into your incarnation cross. Those are the best places to start when we're talking about purpose. If you would like my help with this, if you're interested in learning more about your human design and your gene keys, I do offer readings. So you can go ahead and click the link in my description box to find out more about that. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. I love to answer questions. It's kind of my jam. And I will see you in the next video.